You were talking a little bit yesterday about the morning routine.
Yeah.
And now I've heard a lot of people talk about morning routine. Every one of these like books about like billionaires, they're like, oh, every billionaire has like the same morning routine, blah, blah, blah. And this is something that I really appreciate about what you do is that it becomes practical when you do it.
Yeah.
Like they go, every billionaire has the same morning routine. Like they wake up, they brush their teeth. It's like, poor people have that too. Like, I don't think that's the thing making them a billionaire.
Yeah.
But what you were talking about was brain state.
Yeah. So
can you get into that a little bit?
Yeah, I believe the treasure we seek is hidden in our routines, and and where we pick up these routines, probably when we're kids or somewhere along the way that we didn't sit down and design what would be best. I'm probably part to blame for that. There's a video out there. If you search billionaire morning routine, somebody took one of my interviews and kind of clickbaited it so it looks very catchy. It has 7 million views. I wouldn't say, having spent some time with some very wealthy individuals, they don't do all these things.
No,
not at all. But my thing is, if you want to win the day, you got to win that first hour of the day, because you want to get some momentum, right? And so my day, some of the things to think about. First, my day starts the night before, because you really need to get a good night's sleep. And I don't know who I'm talking to, but if you're hustling at the expense of your sleep, the challenge is you can't cram. If you're going to run a marathon, you can't just wait the night before and just, exercise 7 hours that night, right? Or if somebody is going to go, play basketball, for a big game, you can't just cram the night before things. Certain things take a natural process. And I would say, going to bed, maximize. How's your sleep? Yeah,
it's okay. I mean, we have these dogs kind of wake us up a little bit, but I'm getting to sleep earlier. I would say 7 hours a night, maybe 6-7 hours a night. Is that enough?
Do you feel rested when you wake up?
Not really.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, and people are watching this, they're young, they could plow through it, but it's just important to have these habits early on when you can.
Yeah.
And nobody gets this perfect, right? The goal is not perfection. It's just making some kind of progress.
What is the right amount of sleep?
So,
and how do I stop peeing in the middle of the night?
Does
that count against my REMs?
It could, it certainly could affect your sleep. I would say it's not the quantity of your sleep; it really is the quality. You know these like sleep devices like Oura Ring and stuff like that measure sleep. So it's the deep sleep and it's the REM sleep. The deep sleep is when you repair your body. The REM sleep is where you restore your mind. And so it's not just the quality. Some people get 8 hours and they still feel like exhausted. And so it's the quality of the sleep. So we can't manage anything you can't measure. So I would recommend people kind of do a sleep study, stuff like that. My sleep, I don't talk about this a lot, but for 5 years I slept 90 minutes a night. Yeah, it was rough, and this was in the height of my career, and maybe 2 hours total. And I would wake, and I found out I was misdiagnosed. I had a sleep test, and I have severe sleep apnea. And I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but it's a breathing disorder.
Yeah.
And
usually for fat people, right?
Yeah, because what happens is you gain weight, especially in the neck area, it restricts your airflow, and so you wake up not being able to breathe. And for me, it wasn't a weight issue; it's just a genetic thing. I found out later my parents have sleep apnea, both of them. My brother and my sister also do, and I would stop breathing 220 times a night, and each time was at least a count of 10 seconds. So the doctor at UCLA was like, no wonder you're in such bad shape. It's like somebody coming in 200 times a night and putting a pillow on your
face.
Yeah, and you're waking up suffocating. I couldn't breathe. And I would use a CPAP breathing device, a dental device, which is real sexy.
Night, babe.
Yeah.
Darth Vader for the rest of the evening.
Exactly. And so I would do all these things and still wouldn't move it. And eventually I was having breakfast with Larry King, and he's like a big role model, like where we live in LA, and one of my mentors, and he literally walked me into his ENT to get analyzed, and I actually got diagnosed properly, and we went to the head of UCLA surgery, and they did this surgery on me where they took out my tonsils, my uvula, my soft palate, extremely painful, to create more place, a place where I could breathe.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot. So I went from there to about 4 or 5 hours, and that was life-changing for me. And
I don't know how you slept for 90 minutes.
You know what it was?
Years.
And that's why I wrote this book, part of it. And there's a whole area of sleep that I really became like read every book, talked to every expert on the subject.
Yeah.
But when you don't sleep, and I don't know who I'm talking to right now who's struggling with this. Yeah. It impairs everything. Like your temperament, your feelings, your relationship, how you could think and focus, how you can remember things. So a few sleep tips. What I do the night before, my evening routine, is I want to make sure your brain loves continuity and consistency. So going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, even on the weekends, is a big score. I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
All right. So nothing about success and performance is easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm just saying it's worth it. Right. And so going to bed at the same time, having it dark, because, with modern day conveniences, with lighting and screens, we fool our brain. There's the blue light in your screens for your devices that fool your brain to thinking it's still daylight. And so it doesn't produce the melatonin to help you relax and go to sleep. The other trigger besides light is temperature. Back when you're hunter-gatherer, you knew to go to sleep because the lighting dipped, and so did the temperature. But in controlled environments, it doesn't get cold in your home. And so making your room a little colder will help you sleep, get that restorative sleep. You kind of hibernate,
Yeah.
And so, and before I go to bed, one of the best things you could do is go through just your day. People can't remember things.
Following day or what you did?
What you did that day.
Okay.
So there's something called episodic memory. And episodic memory is very useful because you notice even with the pandemic, it's really exacerbated this, where days blended together.
I could keep going.
No.
This is
you don't
so relatable.
Yeah.
There was a time where you couldn't even ask me what day it was.
Yep.
We'd just been working straight through. I don't know if it was a Tuesday, it was Thursday, especially you're not going out. There's nothing on TV.
Exactly.
There's nothing like positioning your week. That's so true.
Because you're not going to the movies, you're not going out to restaurants or clubs or whatever.
You could peg the week to these different events and they weren't happening.
Because you don't have those distinctive things that stand out in your memory, so they all blend for days, right?
Yeah.
And so that's your episodic memory. And so what you could do is just spend, as you go to bed, take 3 minutes. And so there's no such thing as a good or bad memory. And some people think, actually, there's a trained memory and an untrained memory.
And what are the...
So there's no such thing as a good or bad memory when people say I have a bad memory. It's just you haven't trained your memory because we weren't taught how to do that. And one of the things you could do is simple exercise that anyone could do is at the end of the night when you're lying in bed, just take 3 minutes, close your eyes, and just review your day. Right? What did you put on? What were you wearing? What did you eat for breakfast? What calls did you make? Right? And that helps to train your brain so you start remembering. A lot of people don't remember what happened, that day or who they talked to.
Yeah.
And the reason why memory is so important is because, I lost when I was going through these learning challenges. My grandmother was my primary caregiver, right? Because my parents always had all these jobs and stuff, and so. When I was going through my challenges, she, at 5 and 6, started showing the signs of dementia, Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And if anyone, my heart goes out to you if anyone has...
My pops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So you know what I'm talking about. Like She would call me by my dad's name. She would say something she just said 45 seconds ago.
Yeah.
And when people lose their memory, it feels like they lose who they are. So while we teach people to remember facts, figures, formulas, whatever, it's really about remembering your life, remembering your loved ones, remembering your lessons, right? Those special moments. But that really affected me early on, and that's why I dedicated all the proceeds of the book to Alzheimer's research, children's education, because we're so passionate about that. But that just broke my heart, and it just made me think about what's good for the brain. And if you're not sleeping, that could really add. They say your genetics, because I'm concerned because that's genetic. Your genetics loads the gun, right? But your lifestyle is what fires it. And so that's why it's so important to treat yourself well, and especially your brain, because your brain controls everything, right? You want to change your brain, you change your life. You change your brain, you change your world.
So the night before, you reflecting on the day.
I go through the day for a few minutes.
And it's just, hey, what are some events that happened today? Yeah. I just want to log these.
After a week of doing it, you start getting more and more clarity. You start remembering the things.